You know, everything I know about the law and the courts, well, I pretty much learned from TV, and that's probably a good thing because I have never been taken to court, nor have I ever had to take someone else to court.
But this is not one of the situations where ignorance is bliss. Knowledge is power. So here today with a lesson on litigation, this is attorney Chase Brockstedt with the law firm of Baird, Mandalas, and Brockstedt, LLC. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You know what? Start off, define litigation for me.
The definition is the commencement of a legal action. And so basically litigation happens when parties can't resolve their disputes.
Okay.
And they need some third party to come in and help them do that, whether it's a judge or a jury.
Okay, so why is it important to know how litigation works?
Well, so I'm a personal injury lawyer. And so, you know, when I am dealing with insurance adjusters and insurance companies on the other side, they look and they value cases through the prism of a jury trial. And so they're looking at what are the strengths and weaknesses of a case, what are the witnesses, what are the facts involved, what are the medical injuries, what are the medical bills, those types of things. We all track jury verdicts, so we know what's happening. So the way that they look at cases in terms of how they're going to be resolved, what would happen is if this case goes to trial. And so you have to understand what's going to happen in the courtroom to help your clients maybe resolve their case before you get there.
So I guess experience when it comes to litigation is an extremely important thing.
Experience, in my opinion, is the #1 factor. You know, some of the most important work that we do, Jimmy, is when somebody comes and sees me, they're not having a good day, right? They're hurt, they're, you know, undergoing medical treatment. Many times they're out of work, so their wages aren't getting paid. And some of the most critical work that we do right away when we get a new case in the door is to figure those things out and ultimately to help them get their wages paid so that they can pay their bills, their mortgage, their rent, their utilities, whatever it may be. So having experience navigating these insurance companies, it's necessary right at the beginning, but then as the case goes on, it's necessary to help resolve it, hopefully before you have to litigate it.
Right.
But if not, then you got to have the experience in the courtroom to get it resolved by a jury.
So Chase, is it safe to say you know your way around a courtroom?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that I do. Again, you know, the courtroom is sort of the last resort for us. The last resort, rather. And so, you know, we try to resolve the cases beforehand, but we've got a really good track record of success trying cases, you know, in Delaware.
Everything that you just touched on, litigation is complex, isn't it?
You know, it is, and it gets more complex every day because of lawyers, right? and so, but yeah, it is complex. And again, when you're dealing with folks on the other side, you know, a sophisticated insurance company, and you're trying to ultimately get them to pay out on claims, you know, it becomes very nuanced. And you know, knowing your way and being able to navigate your clients through that is very important.
You know, personal injury covers a lot of different areas, and you've covered a lot of cases in the past. Can you give us some examples?
Yes. Well, you know, my passion and the passion that my team has that works in our injury litigation department, it's really helping people. And so that spans a lot of cases. You know, we've had a lot of success for nursing home neglect and abuse cases, child abuse cases. We do auto accident cases, premises liability, you know, workplace injuries. We do all of those types of things, and you know, the end result is to really help people. We had our first railing failure case that we litigated over 2.5 years that resolved toward the end of the summertime. We're now working on a groundwater contamination case, which is pretty big and exciting. But you know, the common denominator for everything that we do is really helping people.
Well, and I'm sure you get this all the time in day-to-day conversation, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What would be your advice to someone who has been injured through no fault of their own?
Well, whether they know it or not, they probably need a lawyer. Okay, so that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice would be to be very careful in selecting a lawyer. And let me tell you why. You know, I know of people that have met with other lawyers where within the first 45-minute consultation, that lawyer has told them, this is what the value of your case is, this is ultimately what you're going to get paid, and this is how we're going to do it. If you find yourself in that situation, I would walk out and get a second opinion from another lawyer.
Really?
It's really complex and nuanced, and I can't tell my clients in the first meeting, and I usually can't tell them in the first couple of months what their case is worth. I mean, it really depends on the nature of the injuries, the duration of the medical treatment, how much the medical treatment costs. you know, I have to assess how is my client going to do in a courtroom, because again, the insurance adjusters are valuing these cases through the prism of a jury trial. What's the evidence that's going to be admissible? And so there's a lot that goes into sort of baking the cake of coming up with a value of a case, and it happens a little bit later in the process. So, you know, so my advice is, you know, lawyer shop, you know, talk to different lawyers. But if you find yourself in a room where someone's telling you up front what you're going to get, you're probably in the wrong spot.
Chase, you're the guy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wow.
Chase Brockstedt with the law firm Baird, Mandalas, Brockstedt, LLC. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.